ASMR. Today I got my Outlaws of Thunder Junction delivery a little bit earlier than expected. It's not due to come out until this Friday, but hopefully Wizards won't send security round to confiscate the item. Sorry, that was a bit loud. You can hear the dice in the box there. So we'll just quickly go through what you get before opening it. So we have 15 traditional foil and 15 regular basic lands. Doesn't mention anything about full arts, but I'm pretty sure you do get some full arts in this now. We've got a oversized D20 dice, which I've seen already and it's quite nice. 9 play boosters. An alt art, the key to the vault, which is this is one of the cards I actually want from the set, so I'm quite happy you get one in the box. And then you also get a card box as well, which makes for great storage. Oh, and 2 reference cards as well, but they're not so important for older players like me. They're more for newer players. I'll start off with that I really don't like that front artwork. Don't know why. Just yeah, it's a bit weird. But there we go. And there's the pull tab to open the box, which I'll try and do as quietly as possible. Don't want it to be too loud. Really excited for this set. It's one that I've been keeping tabs on for the pre-release and all the previews and stuff like that. I think they've done a really good job, to be fair, because Cowboys isn't something that you think of when it comes to Magic the Gathering, but it doesn't seem so bad in the design. Trying to get it out without making too much noise. And there's the artwork that I really don't like, but there we go. And some more artwork that I really don't like. For those that don't know, that's Loot, who apparently is the key to everything. And I really hate his design so much. I mean, they're trying to make him look cute, but look at that smile. That is not a cute smile at all. But who knows? He could be really important in the lore. I guess he is if he's the key to everything. And then there we have a Thunder Junction train, which I will admit does look pretty cool. You don't really think of trains for Magic the Gathering. There's a cactus planeswalker symbol, which I find that kind of funny. There's one on that side as well. And then there's also this stylized leather top. It's not actual real leather or anything, but I kind of like it. It's cool. And then inside we have the goods. So there is a oversized spin down D20 with the set logo, which is a hat. Quite good for a cowboy set, I think. Going to get rid of some rubbish. And then, oh, sorry, that was a bit loud. We've got the usual free bit of recycling that Wizards give you. Oh, they do actually give you some counters though, some useful keyword counters, which is nice. I haven't done those for a long time, so sometimes they're good to have. I'm all thumbs and no fingers today by the looks of it. Keep dropping everything. We have the land pack with the promo, which is probably what I'll open first. Then we have the 2 reference cards. Again, great for new players, but not needed. And then we have 9 play boosters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they're quite foily. They're more foily than other boosters in the past by the looks of them. Maybe they've upped the marketing budget for this set. Even the commander decks come in like a foil box now, which looks very higher quality than usual. So normally they're just regular cardboard. Can I get this open without making too much noise? I could never find the easy peel start for these things. The cheat code. Over there, so it's not in the way. So we have the bundle promo, which is the key to the vault. 1 and a blue for a legendary artifact equipment. Whenever a crypt creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. And it's got an equip cost of 2 and a blue. Oh, and then we have got the nice full art bands there. I do kind of like the designs of these. I think they're really nice and subtle. There's an island. The swan's probably the only one that I don't really like, but it seems a bit forced, that one. Well, that's a very dull mountain. Not a lot of reds pop in there. And then we've got the full art forest. And then we've got some foil lands. And then we got the non-foils as well. It's always a nice little bonus in the bundles, I think. Getting those full art lands. They're already curling a bit though by the looks of it, as you can see there. So let's go on to the main event. And we'll start cracking some boosters. As always, we're going to go through each card. So, first up we have Iron Fist Pulverizer. 4 and a red for a 4/5 giant warrior with reach. Whenever you cast cast your second spell each turn. It deals 2 damage to target opponent and scry 1. Might pronounce this name wrong, but Arietti's Lullaby. 1 and a white for a sorcery. Destroy target tapped creature. You gain 2 life. Seize the Secrets. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you have committed a crime this turn. Draw 2 cards. Boneyard Desecrator. 3 and a black for a 3/4 zombie mercenary with menace. You can pay 1 and a black and sacrifice another creature to put a +1/+1 counter on it. If an outlaw was sacrificed this way, create a treasure token. Oh, Snakeskin Veil, that's a nice card to have in the common slot for draft and stuff like that. Snakeskin Veil for 1 green. It's instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn. Fake your own death. 1 and a black for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, and you create a treasure token. Well, that seems really good for common as well. Oasis Gardener. 3 for a 2/2 Scarecrow. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any colour. Full Steam Ahead. 3 green for a sorcery. Until end of turn, each creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample, and this creature can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Seems like a good win in a mono green deck. That's an uncommon as well. I've just realised you might not be seeing these cards with a whole lot of clarity. There you go. Unfortunate Accident. 1 black for an instant with Spree. You can pay an additional 2 and a black to destroy target creature, or an additional 1 to create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap target creature you control gets +1/+0, and you can only activate that as a sorcery. Form a Posse. X red white for a sorcery. Create X 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens with tap to target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And then we've got High Noon. 1 and a white for an enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. And then you can pay 4 and a red to sacrifice it, and it deals 5 damage to any target. And then we've got Buried in the Garden. It's 2 green white for an enchantment aura. Enchant land. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent you don't control until Buried in the Garden leaves the battlefield. When enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of any colour. And then we've got Nimble Brigand. For 2 and a blue, you get a 1/3 human rogue. It can't be be blocked if you've committed a crime this turn, and when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's an uncommon. And then we just have a basic plains with an advert. I really wish they didn't do these adverts, or at least just have a token on one side. Makes so much more sense. Right. On to pack number 2. Prickly pear. 2 and a red for a 2/2 plant mercenary. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Trained Arynx, I think that's pronounced. 1 and a white for a 3/1 cat beast mount. When it attacks while saddled, it gains first strike until end of turn. Scry 1. And the saddle cost is 2. So I think saddling works just like vehicles, but they remain creatures still as well. Geyser Drake. 2 and a blue for a 2/3 Drake with flying. As long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Skullduggery. Black for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1, and target creature an opponent control gets -1/-1. Bristleback Sentry. 1 and a green for a 3/3 plant wolf with defender. As long as you control a creature with power 4 or greater, this creature can attack as though it didn't have defender. Bridled Bighorn. 3 and a white for a 3/4 sheep mount with vigilance. When it attacks while saddled, create a 1/1 white sheep creature token, and the saddle cost is 2. I really hope I open a sheep token now. Hollow Marauder. 6 and a black for a 4/2 Spectre Rogue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard, and it has flying. When it enters the battlefield, any number of target opponents each discard a card. For each of those opponents who didn't discard a card with mana value 4 or greater, draw a card. So that's why it's a 7-drop then. This town ain't big enough. 4 and a blue for an instant. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a permanent you control. Return up to 2 target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Prosperity Tycoon. 3 and a white for a 4/2 human noble. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token, and you can pay 2 to sacrifice a token for it to gain indestructible until end of turn, and you have to tap it. Oh, we've got a land here. Botanical Sanctum. It's a non-basic land that enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands, and it taps for green or blue. Oh, we've got our first from the vault card as well. So, Fomery Vault. It's a non-basic land that taps for colourless, or you can pay 3, tap it and discard a card. To look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artefacts you control. Put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Oh wow. Got a mana drain as well. Oh, that's amazing. I think it's one of the most expensive cards in the set, but I could be wrong. 2 blue for a mana drain. There's an instant counter target spell. At the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colourless mana equal to that spell's mana value. Stop cold. 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash. Enchant artifact or creature. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted permanent. An enchanted permanent loses all abilities and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. That's a common. And then we've got one of the new deserts. So Forlorn Flats. It's a non-basic land desert that enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and it taps for white or black. Got that there. And then we've got a spirit token, which I kind of like the look of those, they're nice. It's a cool spirit, I think. On to pack 3. Explosive derailment. For 1 red, you get an instant with spree. Pay an additional 2 mana for it to deal 4 damage to target creature. An additional 2 mana to destroy target artifact. Steer clear. 1 white mana for an instant. It deals 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. It deals 4 damage to that creature instead if you control a mount as you cast this spell. So that could be super powerful in a right draft deck. That'd be pretty strong. Stop cold. 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash. Enchant artifact or creature, and when it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent loses all abilities and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Raven of Fell Omens. 1 and a black for a bird with for a 1/2 bird with flying. Shock the bird, as they say. Whenever you commit a crime, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Patient Naturalist. 2 and a green for a 2/3 human scout. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards, and put a land card from among the mill cards into your hand. If you can't, create a treasure token. Outlaws Fury. 2 and a red for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If you control an outlaw, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Caught in the Crossfire. 1 for an instant with spree. You can pay an additional 1 for it to deal 2 damage to each outlaw creature, or an additional 1 for it to deal 2 damage to each non-outlaw creature. Bucolic Ranch. I think that's Bucolic. There's a non-basic land desert that taps for colourless. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any colour, but only to cast a mount spell. Or you can pay 3 and tap it to look at the top card of your library. If it's a mount card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put it into your hand, you may put it on the bottom of your library. Emergent, haunting. 1 and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, and emerging haunting isn't a creature, it becomes a 3/3 spirit creature with flying, in addition to its other types. And then you can pay 2 and a blue to surveil 1. Spinewood's Armadillo. 4 green for a 7/7 armadillo with reach and ward 3. You can pay 1 and a green and discard it to search your library for a basic land card or desert card. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 3 life. That's another pretty strong uncommon, I think. The rare is Annie Joins Up. 1 red, green, white for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And if a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So that's going straight up in my Joda deck. And then we've got Savage Smash. 1 red, green for sorcery. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. And then we've got Clear Shot. For 2 and a green, you get an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. And then a Foil Plains and a Treasure Token. On to pack number 4. ThunderSalvo. 1 and a red for an instant. It deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2, plus the number of other spells you've cast this turn. Mystical Tether. 2 and a white for an enchantment. You may cast it as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it. And when it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Daring Thunder Thief. 3 and a blue for a 4/4 turtle rogue. What a great creature type. It has flash and it enters the battlefield tapped. Ambush Gigapede. 4 black for a 6/2 insect with flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Giant Beaver. 3 and a green for a 4/4 beaver mount with vigilance. When it attacks while saddled, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that saddled it this turn, and the saddle cost is 3. Sterling Hound. 3 mana for a 3/2 artifact dog. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 2. Djinn of Fool's Fall. 4 and a blue for a 4/3 Djinn with flying, and it has blot for 3 and a blue. Red Rock Sentinel. 3 mana for a 2/4 golem with defender. You can pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice a land, to draw a card and create a treasure token. That's a uncommon. Deep Muck Desperado. 2 and a blue for a 2/4 Homerid Mercenary. Whenever you commit a crime, each opponent mills 3 cards, but it only triggers once each turn. Unscrupulous Contractor. 2 and a black for a 3/2 Human Assassin. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Why that can't just be exploit, I don't know. It's so weird sometimes how they don't use keywords, but you can plot it for 2 and a black. Outcaster Trailblazer. 2 and a red for a 4/2 Human Druid. When it enters the battlefield, add 1 mana of any colour. Whenever another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card, and you can plot it for 2 in a green. Then we've got Tornado. 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target creature with flying, and you can cycle it for 1 and a green. Vault Plunderer. 2 and a black for a 3/1 Human Rogue. When it enters the battlefield, target player draws his card and loses 1 life. And then we've got a plane and a map token. Oh, maps must be back in this set again. So, this is pack number 5. Reckless Lackey. 1 red for a 1/2 Goblin Pirate with first strike and haste. Wow. You can pay 2 and a red to sacrifice it, to draw a card and create a treasure token. Wow, that's really pushed. That's great for a 1-drop. Because you can deal the first strike damage to kill something and then sack it. Wow, okay. Wanted Griffin. 3 and a white for a 3/2 Griffin with flying. When it dies, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token. Spring Splasher. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Frog Beast. When it attacks, target creature defending player controls gets -3, -0 until end of turn. Mourner's Surprise. 1 and a black for a sorcery. Return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token. Throw from the Saddle. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on it instead. If it's a mount, then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Mirage Mesa. It's a non-basic land desert that enters the battlefield tapped. As it enters, choose a colour, and it adds 1 mana of the chosen colour. Quick Draw. 1 red for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains first strike until end of turn. Creatures target opponent controls lose first strike and double strike until end of turn. non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted. Put the rest into your hand. Oh, okay. That's pretty good. Because when you plot something, you get to cast it for free on a later turn. Forsaken Miner. 1 black for a 2/2 skeleton rogue that can't block. If you commit a crime, you may pay black. If you do, return Forsaken Miner from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, that seems pretty good as well. Although it can't block, I suppose. Wrangler of the Damned. 3 white, blue for a 1/4 human soldier with flash. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, create a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying. Dust Animus. 1 and a white for a 2/3 spirit with flying. If you control 5 or more untapped lands as it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters and a lifelink counter, and you can plot it for 1 and a white. A Hindering Light. A white and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell that targets you or a permanent you control, and then draw a card. Okay, and then we have a foil. Make your own luck. 3 green, blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted. Put the rest into your hand. And then we've got Lush Oasis. There's a non-basic land desert that enters the battlefield tapped. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target opponent. And you can tap it for green or blue. And then we've got the Git Rock Monster artwork there. I'll put that there. So, we've got 4 packs to go. Highway Robbery. 1 and a red for a sorcery. You may discard a card or sacrifice a land. If you do, draw 2 cards, and it has plot for 1 and a red. Vengeful Townsfolk. 2 and a white for a 3/3 human citizen. Whenever 1 or more other creatures you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Vengeful Townsfolk. Lone Shark. 3 and a blue for a 3/4 shark rogue. When it enters the battlefield, if you've cast 2 or more spells this turn, draw a card, and then you can plot it for 3 and a blue. Nezumi Link Breaker. 1 black for a 1/1 rat warlock. When it dies, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token that you can tap. For target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Reach for the Sky. 3 and a green for an enchantment aura with flash. Enchanted creature gets +3/+2 and has reach. And when it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Phantom Interference. 1 blue for an instant with spree, where you can pay an additional 3 to create a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying, and an additional 1 to counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. Free Strider Commando. 2 and a green for a 3/3 Centaur Mercenary. When it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it, if it wasn't cast or no mana was spent to cast it, and you can plot it for 3 and a green. Tomb Trawler, 2 mana for a 0/4 artifact golem. You can pay 2 mana to put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Cunning Coyote, 1 and a red for a 2/2 coyote with haste. When it enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gets +1/+1 and haste until end of turn, and you can plot it for 1 and a red. That's an uncommon. Slick Shot Lock Picker, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 human rogue. When it enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback. Until end of turn, the flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, and you can plot it for 2 and a blue. So that's just isn't that just a better Snapcaster Mage? Or Snapcaster 2 and a blue? I can't remember now. One Last Job, 2 and a white for a sorcery with spree. You can pay an additional 2 mana to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. An additional 1 to return target mount or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then an additional 1 again to return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield, attached to a creature you control. And then next up we have Prosperity, green, white, blue, for an instant. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent or card in a graveyard puts it on the top or bottom of their library. And then we have a Bristleback Sentry, 1 and a green for a 3/3 plant wolf with defender. As long as you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. And then Bristling Backwards, which is a non-basic land desert, enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and you can tap for green or red. And then we have the newspaper art there for a card, but I don't know which one that is. Decisive Denial. Three packs to go. Irascible Wolverine, 2 and a red for a 3/2 Wolverine. When it enters the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn you may play that card, and you can plot it for 2 and a red. Holy Cow, that's a great name. 2 and a white for a 2/2 Ox Angel with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 1. Harrier Strix, 1 blue for a 1/1 bird with flying. When it enters the battlefield, tap target permanent, and then you can pay 2 and a blue to draw a card, then discard a card. Desperate Bloodseeker, 1 and a black for a 2/2 vampire with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 2 cards. Hard Bristle Bandit, 1 and a green for a 1/1 plant rogue that you can tap to add 1 mana of any colour, and whenever you commit a crime, untap Hard Bristle Bandit. Okay, that's a common, fair enough. Corrupted Conviction, 1 black for an instant. There's an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards. Treasure Dredger. 1 and a black for a 2/2 human rogue. You can pay 1 and tap it. Pay 1 life to create a treasure token. Visage Bandit. 3 and a blue for a 2/2 shapeshifter rogue. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a shapeshifter rogue in addition to its other types, and you can pay 2 and a blue to plot it. Just realised I'm messing up my piles there. A Rakish Crew. 2 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token. And whenever an outlaw you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We got our first mythic from the set there. 2 and a 3 for Geralf, the Fleshwright. It's a human warlock, and whenever you cast a spell during your turn other than your first spell that turn, create a 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature token. And whenever a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each other zombie that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Oh, and another from the Vault card as well. Territory Forge. 4 and a red for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, exile target artifact or land. And it has all the activated abilities of the exiled card. And then we have Tyrant's Scorn. Blue and a black for an instant. Choose 1. Destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less. Or return target creature to its owner's hand. Then we got Desert's Dew. 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. It gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each desert you control. And then we have a basic mountain. And an ox token. I was hoping that was a sheep token. Mine Raider. 2 and a red for a 3/2 human rogue with trample. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another outlaw, create a treasure token. Outlaw Medic. 1 and a white for a 1/3 human rogue with lifelink. When it dies, draw a card. Peerless Rope Master. 4 and a blue for a 4/4 human rogue. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target tapped creature its owner's controls. Rooftop Assassin. 3 and a black for a 2/2 vampire assassin with flash, flying and lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. Slickshot Vault Buster. 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human rogue with vigilance. It gets +2/+0 as long as you've committed a crime this turn. Sterling Keykeeper. 1 and a white for a 2/2 human mercenary. Pay 2 and tap it for target non-mount creature. Sandstorm Verge. It's a non-basic land desert that you can tap for colourless, or you can pay 3 and tap for target creature can't block this turn. That seems pretty good. Intrepid Stable Master. 1 and a green for a 2/2 human scout with reach. You can tap it to add green, or you can tap it to add 2 mana of any colour, but spend this mana only to cast mounts or vehicles. Slick Sequence. Blue-red for an instant. It deals 2 damage to any target. If you've cast another spell this turn, draw a card. Honest Rudstein. 1 black-green for a 3/2 human warlock. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Leah Undefeated Slickshot. 1 blue-red for a 3/3 human rogue with prowess. Whenever you cast a multicoloured instant or sorcery spell from your hand, exile that spell instead of putting it into your graveyard. If you do, it becomes blotted. Then we've got Collective Defiance. 1 red for a sorcery with Escalate. Pay 1 mana. Choose 1 or more. Target player discards all the cards in their hand, then draws that many cards. Collective Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature, and it deals 3 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Caught in the Crossfire. Red for an instant with Spree. You can pay an additional 1 for it to deal 2 damage to each outlaw creature, or pay an additional 1 for it to deal 2 damage to each non-outlaw creature. And then Abraded Bluffs as a non-basic land desert that enters the battlefield tapped. And when it enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and you can pay and you can tap it for red or white. And we have an advert. So, last pack of the box. It's actually taken me quite a while to open this one. It's almost an hour long, this video. Arietti's Lullaby. 1 and a white for a sorcery. Destroy target tapped creature. You gain 2 life. Seize the Secrets. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you've committed a crime this turn. And draw 2 cards. Boneyard Desecrator. 3 and a black for a 3/4 zombie mercenary with menace. You can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice another creature and put a +1/+1 counter on Boneyard Desecrator. If an outlaw was sacrificed this way, create a treasure token. Snakeskin Veil. 1 green mana for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn. Prickly Pear. 2 and a red for a 2/2 plant mercenary. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token. Gold Pan. 2 mana for an equipment. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token, and the equipped creature gets +1/+1, and it costs 1 to equip. Outlaws Fury. 2 and a red for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If you control an outlaw, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Hollow Marauder. 6 and a black for a 4/2 Spectre Rogue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, any number of target opponents each discard a card. For each of those opponents who didn't discard a card with mana value 4 or greater, draw a card. Shining Grift. Blue for a sorcery with Spree. Pay an extra 2 to exchange control of 2 target creatures. Pay an extra 1 to exchange control of 2 target artifacts. And pay an additional 1 to exchange control of 2 target enchantments. Rictus Robber. 3 and a black for a 4/3 human rogue. When it enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, create a 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature token. And it has plot for 2 and a black. And then we've got Claim Jumper. 2 and a white for a 3/3 rabbit mercenary with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plains card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then if an opponent controls more lands than you, repeat this process once. If you search your library this way, shuffle. And then we've got another Tornado. 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target creature with flying, and it has cycling for 1 and a green. Oh, and then we've got a foil rare. 3 steps ahead. 1 blue for an instant with Spree. You can pay an additional 1 and a blue to counter target spell. An additional 3 to create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control. And an additional 2 to draw 2 cards and discard a card. Oh, I've also got a foil. Not foil basic land. I didn't think you could get 2 foils in a pack, but there we go. There we go. I've been Foamy ASMR. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you leave a comment below, I'll get back to you. I'll see you in the next video.